BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we're into the home stretch for NBA and NHL playoffs. And there's more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the MLB, NHL, and UFC. And in between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino. All the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino action. So BetOnline, the game starts here. I got a question because I want to hear some. You always give me facts and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure of. So it's funny because our boy Dave has been on this rant that AEW is getting set to be the number 2 most profitable company, like most profitable company in wrestling history. They're getting set whenever that's coming, right? But then it was like, I'm like, well, wait a second. How can you compare it to WCW? Because just because you got this new these rights fees now, $185 million, bro. WCW was a Turner property. I mean,
it's not even about that. It's not even about that. You're talking apples to oranges, and you're right. You can't. It's not apples to oranges,
right.
But it goes deeper than that. Just go. Dave is touting this $185 million deal like it's cash. I am telling you, it is not a cash deal. There is some cash and there is some value of equal consideration, which comes in the way of promotion, which means whatever ad time they can't sell, they'll plug in an AEW promotion of some sort, and that gets counted as credit towards the deal. That's what that is. So profitable in what? He hasn't seen the forecast. He hasn't seen the deal. If he did, he's not smart enough to understand what he's looking at. He's either just taking what someone is telling him, which is conceivable, because Dave, as you know, doesn't really, source or look.
Double source stories.
He doesn't double source, right? That's not his thing. I got participation trophies that say I'm a journalist. I'm done.
Right.
So he's taking a number that he probably wouldn't understand if he did see the deal. More than likely, he's never seen the deal. And that deal is not what it sounds like it is, in my humble opinion.
Right.
It is a mirage. It is a press release.
And plus, too, I'm always fascinated by, bro, they have like a $2 million weekly talent budget. And I'm like going, guys, you're running a $2 million talent budget alone, and you're doing shows, your main shows in front of 3,000 people. Think about that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
AEW may look. I'm talking. My perspective on the AEW deal is about the way Dave is reporting it. I don't believe Dave knows what that deal is. I certainly don't know what it is.
Right.
And I don't think Dave knows anything more than I do, unless he's just being fed certain information. Whether AEW is profitable, the second most profitable, I hope they are. By the way, everybody was reaching out to me. Tony's bragging about being the longest running show on AEW on TNT. Good for him.
Plus, not only that, Eric,
he bought himself a participation trophy.
Right. But not only that, Eric, as the promoter in him, it's good for his fan base, good red meat, to go, oh, look, I beat Eric Bischoff. And they get off that. You know what I'm saying?
But it doesn't mean anything. And that's
no, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to us, because we don't anymore. We're older and we're smarter. But these guys are young geeks,
and they don't read a lot.
Yeah. I just think too is like when I look, it's like what are they doing? What are they in business for? Because like all they seem to their success comes from posting a W on social media one week if they do a good number, or like they've reached a milestone, like these artificial awards for like the longest running episodic wrestling show on Turner on WB. It's like I'm like, what is, it's like, great, what is that? You guys are like creating W's just to post on social media. I'm like, that's fine, but don't like pretend that like that's all you're doing this for. Because Eric, like, still go back to the thing that you said a while back. It's just, dude, that's what you get when it's just a well-funded hobby. And nothing's really deviated from like the way they operate, you know. And so I've always
well,
gone
maybe
back
you
to that
will.
quote,
You know, I
don't.
really have quit watching. Like I actually, even though I was ranting and raving about it and tearing it up, I was really kind of hoping in a weird way that Tony would wake up and go, okay, maybe we got to try to do something different. Because I've been saying for years what my opinion was and what was going to happen if things continued based on what we were seeing. And, here we are. And I've been right just about absolutely everything, including predicting where the ratings are this week, almost a year ago. So I kind of have a feel for things, but I just kind of, I don't watch it anymore. I don't read about it anymore. This is the most I've talked about it in a couple months because I just don't, it's off my radar, man.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Eric, can I ask you, because back in the day, occasionally you'd appear on, the Wrestling Observer show and was on like Yada and stuff like that. And not that you had a friendship, but you would, talk to Dave and stuff like that. I don't know how much or how often, but at what point did your opinion really sour on Dave Meltzer, do you think?
Well, it started out bad. I thought he was early on.
Yeah.
And then we had I hired a guy. I didn't actually hire him. Somebody else did. Zane Breslov.
Yeah, Zane.
An independent promoter, lived in Denver, but WWE used him a lot in that Denver market, certainly, and perhaps in other markets as well. He worked with WWE for a long time. He had a lot of great relationships there. He eventually moved over to WCW before I was made president, but we hit it off right away. He just had a kind of personality that I liked. He was probably ADD.
He was a sharp guy, though.
Huge hockey fan. So me and him got along.
Right.
Yeah. Big sports fan.
Right.
Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't party, but a seriously degenerative gambler. And Lori and I would go to Vegas and hang out with him at the Barbary Coast Hotel, and he'd play the sports book, and we'd, have dinner and drinks, whatever. We got to be pretty good friends. Well, Zane was friends with Dave.
Yeah.
Right.
So, after Zane had been at WCW for a while, and we got closer. He said, "Man, why don't you just talk to Dave?" He said, "What for? He's a clown. Why would I take time on my day to talk to a clown?" He said, "No, but maybe if you give him access, he wouldn't write such outrageous stuff about WCW." I said, "Well, all right, that makes sense. If you won't give somebody an answer to something, then you shouldn't be offended when they make up their own."
Right.
So I said, "All right, we'll try that." And I did. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. He'd still write stupid, outrageous. So I was like, well, no, we're done. And it was brief. It might have lasted a month or two. I don't remember because they were never significant call. Dave makes it sound like he was consulting for me.
Right.
I've read some of the things that he said, clips of it. It's like, are you kidding me? But he needs that. So he's one of those low-level thinkers, that low vibrational state that doesn't get a lot of dopamine hit anywhere else in their life. Nothing that makes them just feel good about being who they are. Nothing that kind of rewards them for something they've actually accomplished. So they kind of live in this low-level vibrational state that is the internet wrestling community, and that's where they get their. That's why he throws such stupid out there, because he gets an immediate reaction. Boom, dopamine. Thank you. Next.
But that never used to be him, and he keep hearing it over and over. And I'll give you an example. He had put on this thing that certain wrestlers in AAA were already under WWE contract, right? And I'm like, bro, this is not true. Why don't you call me and I'll tell you what's up? So it's
what
almost
was his
like
answer?
He hasn't answered me yet. And
gotta get the answer to that part.
Right.
So, and it's almost like all these people that the low level, however you put it, right? It's like he's the king of those guys.
Yeah. Well, that's his connection.
Yeah.
Different people have different levels of connection and different social groups and friends and family and all that. Dave's tends to be most comfortable in that low vibrational state.
Yeah. Plus, too, I don't like the language like him used for fraud,
Grifter.
hack, grifter, like all of that. And I'm like,
what's really funny is he calls everybody, he goes grifter. Well, is there any bigger grifter in the peripheral wrestling cesspool of humanity than Dave Meltzer, who charges people 15
Bro, I didn't even know.
I
didn't even know what grifter meant, so I had to look it up, and it meant con man.
Yeah.
How are we con men? Right. We're not tricking anybody or stealing money. Yeah.
My thing is this perfect example is like when you ask like who's the fraud, you would just say, like, let's be very honest. Let's say the entire set of facts existed concerning AEW. Their shows, their attendance, the booking, everything that's happened, right? And everything that Dave's written about it. Now let's pretend that Vince Russo was in charge of AEW instead of Tony Khan. Would they have been writing the same way about that product if Vince Russo had been the guy in charge of it as opposed to Tony Khan with the same shows, the same set of facts, or would they have been burying it?
Yo, what's up? I just want to thank you guys for watching this clip. Don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And join our YouTube membership for hours and hours of exclusive, unedited, uncensored content. And being a member will help you get involved in our upcoming live streams. Thank you for your support. Thank you for riding with us. I know you got a lot of other podcast choices, be it wrestling or other ones. And thank you for picking us. Boom.